As an African, what does the idea of family mean to you? And I'm not talking about the correct definition or what you think is the correct definition, but what comes to mind when you hear the word family? What does that resonate for you? I think this is a very important place to start because to start this channel because family is the bedrock of our foundation. That is where we spend majority, like if not all of our formative years. So what is family to you? Before we get into that though, I want to tell you a little bit about the naming of this channel. I was so hesitant to name the channel with the word legacy because the reason why I did that is legacy is something that you can build on, you can expand on, it's ever growing, and that's what we need to be as Africans for our continent and all of it. So I really wanted something that was long term, longevity, something that is going to transcend generations upon generations for all of us. A part of me was like, maybe it's gonna come off like you're trying to build your own legacy. But you know what? It's not about that. I really don't care. It's about building a legacy for all of us as Africans because what we have, our continent, is just so beautiful and there's so much growth, so much progress that can take place. We can build, we can stand, we're standing on the backs of all the people that have come before us and we can expound on it. We can keep growing. So that is why we have the name, the T Legacy, the empowerment of all Africans, because we're building a legacy for for ourselves, for our children, their children's children, and so on and so forth. This is going to transcend generations. What we do, us getting ourselves empowered, us being self empowered, is something that will benefit everyone that comes after us. So let's get into it. All right, I asked about family. And the reason I asked is because someone recently asked me, Ashley, if you did not grow up with your mom, how is your relationship with her like, And first of all, I had two surprises. This was an older African. I did not know the older people. We have that stereotype where we believe older Africans are stuck in their ways and, they don't care to have these emotional conversations. It's just like, yeah, let's keep it pushing. Let's talk about the day to day. Let's figure things out and we move forward. So the reason why I was surprised was because this is someone in their 50s. An older African is asking me this question. So it was like, oh wow. So what actually you first of all you're an older African and you want to have this conversation and you care to have this conversation. And I was like, oh wow. I didn't even know I believed that stereotype because I'm always the person who's like, let us give each other the benefit of the doubt. But I'm not gonna lie, I was surprised, and but in a good way. It really, it was confirmation to start. It was confirmation that I was on the right path in starting this channel. That was really something, and it was like, we can't just sit and think we know what each other is thinking. That doesn't help. We need conversations like this because for them they did not they did not grow up with with your mother, so they feel like there has always been that lack in connection and they haven't been able to build on it because it's always, you know their conversations are always lukewarm. This is a 50-year-old. Your conversations always lukewarm. It's like, okay, we ask about like the date, just like the normal things. How are you doing? But it's not, it's never deep. And they miss that, and they they want to be able to, they would love to be able to have that deep connection with your mother. However, that is not the case. And I believe they told me they've tried to have this they've tried to make it deep, and they don't know if the approach is what is wrong or how to go about it. Let's circle back. I did not grow up with my mom. My mom left she left the country. I'm from Cameroon, so she left Cameroon when I was 3 years old. She traveled abroad to, look for better opportunities for me and for herself, for her family. And she left, the formative years of a child. That is when you get to bond, that is when you get to know each other. Those are the times when you build that relationship, correct? However, we did not get that. I relocated to the United States 13 years after she had been here, and that took away. I moved to the US when I was 16. So there had to be a lot of intentionality in creating that bond. And when I got here, my mom, I always say this, and I will say it anywhere. My mom is extremely hardworking. To be an immigrant, I believe that, like, we're just cut from a different stock. We're extremely hardworking, and she and my grandmother, who I grew up with my grandparents, those are the people I get my work ethic from. Extremely hardworking. It set the tone for me to be able to be and grow, and I hope continue to grow to where it is that God has envisioned me grown. So I know that that was very essential to my upbringing. It doesn't change the fact that there's some things that you miss when we work when we invest more in, like, providing financial stability. Like, my mom was trying to move us into, she wanted us to go into a house, she wanted that safety, but we did not spend the time in building that emotional connection, in recognizing that, what, this relationship has to be intentional on both parts. We need to create time to spend with each other because we've already missed out on so much. So we need time. We need to make up for that time in order to build a close relationship. Um, I was in high school. My mom was working, like, because all the responsibilities were on her, and honestly, that is one of my goals. I want to retire that woman. She has sacrificed so much, and she needs to enjoy life. So, God, you're listening. So, anyways, yes, my mom was, she has worked so much to provide, and it took us a while to get to a point where where we realized, it's not just about being financially stable. It's not just about making sure you're going to school, you graduate, and things like that. But we have to invest in the emotional side of it. It took a while, and it was difficult, which we will get into more of that down the in the conversation or subsequent conversations. We eventually went to therapy to figure out how we could have actual conversations with each other because we just weren't tracking. There was some other, like, we just weren't tracking. I couldn't understand her. And I came to realize that you cannot have influence as an African parent over a 20 something year old's life if there is no relationship. That's just facts. When a child is younger, you tell them what to do, Typically, they would do it because, they're under your roof and you sustain them, you feed them, and African parents would just be like, because I said so. So when a child grows out of that and they like in university or college or they are working and this wisdom you have to share. However, it doesn't communicate well if that child doesn't feel like, you know, I should be listening to you. You can because African parents typically come across like, oh, I'm your parent. I know better, so do what I'm telling you. There's either no conversation or a relationship hasn't been built, which we're going to touch on that more. So the child doesn't want to, you don't have any influence over their lives, and that's not how it should be. I believe that we should learn from our parents, we should learn from their mistakes, and we should be better because they have gone ahead of us. It doesn't mean that they know everything. However, there are some things that they know that could facilitate our process. Recently, I have a 3-year-old daughter. I have been I have been figuring out, you know, what kind of before, I mean, I usually talk about what kind of a parent do I want to be. And for some reason, it has been nagging me so much more these days. I don't want to be a parent that yells all the time. I don't want to, how to discipline. When they disciplined us back in the day, it's like they're going to whoop you and they're going to beat you so bad. Possibly, or they're going to beat you, they will beat you. So we're being honest on here. I don't want to do that. So it's going to require a lot of intentionality, doing my homework, figuring out, okay, reading books, listening to podcasts, because that's something that we as Africans need. That's a skill, that's a muscle we have to work. Doing research, teaching ourselves, because we just think we should know things, but that's not how the world works. We go to school for years to be doctors, lawyers, accountants, engineers, teachers, and then the holiest responsibility that has been given us, parenting and things like that, we just think we're automatically going to know what to do. We don't do any research. We don't recognize that kids are different. These are all different companies. Like we have so much to talk about on this channel. And family is supposed to be a safe space where both the parents and the children feel secure, where kids learn boundaries and parents learn how to groom the child in the ways of God, so they know how to show up in the world feeling safe, secure, and loved. Because when a child is groomed like that, majority of the time they are whole people, they can talk to you when they're facing difficulties, if they're going through traumas. You understand your child, you believe your child when they come to you, because you build that relationship with them where you know that, what, I know my child and I know they're hurt. I know my child and I know that my child will do this or will not do this. I'm not saying that kids don't surprise you as you grow older and stuff, but we need to have conversations with each other. We need to help each other. So for you, maybe your parents, they got divorced and one parent was more present and the other was not. Maybe your father was always working, your mother was always working and was never present, and you did not grow to build that bond with them. Maybe you lost your parents and you grew up in a situation that was very difficult, correct? Where you just maybe you don't even want to think about it. Maybe you grew up in a home with both parents present but not really present, where they wouldn't talk to you, where they wouldn't hear you. I feel like we need to heal so that we don't pass on our traumas, or we don't pass on these things inherently to the generation that comes after us, to our children. I believe that we need to talk about these things so that we can show up better for ourselves and show up for the people that we are raising. And with that, we need to recognize and acknowledge, how was my childhood? What did family entail when I was growing up? What are the things that I want to carry along? And what are the things that I want to change? Because there's always room for improvement. I actually had a conversation with somebody on Saturday. Honestly, it wasn't really a conversation because we were on two different ends of the spectrum. I believe there's so many positives in our African upbringing: respect, not fear, respect, responsibility, love, community that binds us together. However, you cannot tell me that there's no room for improvement in our African homes. We don't talk to each other. Parents typically pass out commands. I'm not, there's an there's an age where when you have a conversation with a child, it sticks better than you just shouting at that child and telling them, oh no, because I said so. It's all about it being age appropriate. It's all about time and place. So I wasn't even willing to go into that topic because they just felt like there's nothing wrong with how with our African upbringing, how our kids are raised, and yeah, we just it was perfect. And I'm like, nothing is perfect. The only person that's perfect is God. There's always room for us to improve, honestly. So if you're not even willing to look at that possibility, then we cannot have a conversation because we're not going to understand each other. And I'm going to send them this video so they can see, they could and possibly read your comments, sharing like your perspective and how you envision family, and what are the things that we as a community can do better to grow and to enhance the experience of ourselves in our new families that we're going to create and our children. And it is a partnership. That's why we're creating a platform like this so we can have these open, honest conversations because they're so necessary. Listen, um, I am really, honestly, so happy and so blessed to have been African, to be African, to have been born African. I am so blessed for my upbringing and all the challenges that was in it and that I know I'm still going to face. But all of that has equipped me to be who I am and to be who God has placed me in this world to be. So I am not for 1 second am I taken away from that. I truly believe that we are such a unique people. We are so hardworking, so responsible. Our sense of community is out of this world. But there are things in our communities that have to be addressed and that have to be fixed like any other community. I am not saying for us to copy anybody. I am saying for us to learn some things that are working that could be implemented in our community so we can grow and be even better and stronger together as a community. There's some kids that do not feel secure talking to their parents about a hurt that they have been hurt. I don't believe that that should be the case. I believe that a child should feel safe. A home, a family should be a place of love, security, respect, boundaries, openness, where you can be firm but kind and loving. You can have boundaries but still show grace and understanding. And your child should be able to come to you. Your child should be able to talk to you. You should be able to talk to each other as siblings. There should be mutual respect. Honestly, if this is your family, I love that for you. And you are blessed more than you know. Because again, like we said at the start, family is the foundation, it is the bedrock. It sets you up for how you will show up in life. The things where you will need to unlearn and relearn, that is a no brainer. However, if we could set ourselves up for success early, then we're not playing catch up down the line, you know? We're not feeling like we don't fit in. We're not feeling like we don't have roots, we don't have a foundation. Because when you have a foundation, when you have that security, when you have that rootedness, there is there is a confidence about you that is different. You know you have your people. Yes, you find more people along the line. But if we could create a family unit to be this united front, to be this strong fort where a child knows that, you know what, do whatever out there, but I have a place where I feel safe. I think we will be so much better for it. So if you need to have conversations, if you need to have open conversations with your parents, or if you as a parent watching this, you go back and you feel like, you know what, it triggers something for you. You know, I don't feel like I was an open parent. I don't feel like I was communicative enough. I don't feel like I made my kid. And this is of no fault to you. However, when we know better, we have to do better. A lot of our parents were not informed. A lot of our parents just wanted to provide for us. That was the most essential thing, to make sure my child goes to school, to make sure my child has food to eat. And we are so grateful for that. We're so grateful that you wanted to do to nourish our bodies. However, if you really feel like you neglected to nourish us emotionally, to nourish your child emotionally, if you feel like your parents neglected to nourish you emotionally, honestly, have a conversation. You might say, oh, no, no, not my parents. They're not going to listen. Have you tried though? Have you tried? Because we always assume we know. We always assume, and maybe you think you know. Maybe when you have that conversation the first time, it's not going to stick. But truthfully, things stick around in our subconscious and it's going to come back. We need to put an effort. We cannot just throw our hands up and be like, you know, that's how it is, that's how my parents are, and it's not going anywhere. I'm not saying go in there arrogantly. I'm not saying go in there with blame, shaming. I'm saying go in there with respect, understanding. Because typically, when you talk with respect and not arrogance, when you share your worldview and you share your expectations, and you say, you know, mommy, mom, dad, uncle, auntie, whoever you grew up with, I wish it had been like this. because I feel like our relationship is not as close. Like, there's so many different ways that it could go, and have a conversation. Strive to have a conversation. It's not fruitless, but I promise you. Because for me, whenever we ended up talking, whenever we ended up actually working towards building that bridge to understanding each other better, because like I said, we had missed out on so many years, and those were the formative years, correct? But you don't give up. If it's important to you, you make you try to make it work. You try to figure it out. And maybe it's not going to, and maybe it's not going to pan out the way that you expected it to pan out, right? But but it just might. It might be even better than you imagined. I just don't feel like we should give up hope. I just don't feel like it is. You never give up as long as you have breath in your lungs. There is always an opportunity to explore. It could always be better. And this is not an attack. This is not, oh, y'all are so horrible. Again, no, that's not what this is. This is a chance for us to start having these conversations with each other. We need to acquire tools to deal with this, to deal with each other, to deal with these issues. Like, if your child comes to you, I was abused sexually, emotionally. Don't just be like, yeah, what would people say? Or that's why building this relationship is important with each other. If you were a parent that honestly you've really sat and thought about it, and yes, you disciplined your child, but you disciplined them too, like it was too much, apologize to that. You can apologize to that child, not taking back what you, but actually acknowledging that, you know what, now that I have learned, I could do better. And if that was your scenario, don't end up doing the same. Because here's the thing, the reason why these conversations are important is because hurt people. We end up wanting to replicate the way that things were done to us, and that is not fair to the people coming after us, because it was through no fault of theirs that you went through that. I feel like we do not have the strength, we don't feel like we possess the strength and the courage to have these conversations. But that is such a lie we tell ourselves, because we do have that courage. We just need to start. Once you cross that line, you're going to be able to keep going. We're so scared. It's like there's this collective cone of silence that we've all just decided we're not going to talk about this. Why is that though? Why? Don't you, honestly, don't you think that if we had more of these conversations, it would be so much better? I truly believe that in my soul. I believe that if we as Africans begin to talk and learn from each other and grow, oh my goodness, the possibilities are endless for what we can accomplish. It might feel wrought at first, it might feel really horrible. It might feel like, why am I putting myself through this? But the light at the end of the tunnel is so much brighter in my book. It might be difficult to get there because we're not used to opening up, we're not used to talking. But I truly believe that once we get started, It's not going to happen in one day. It's an it's an evolutionary process. We have to keep learning, keep adapting, keep growing. The willingness to do this, if we actually chose to. I'm gonna tell you for myself, honestly, I am so much happier. And it could always be better. It really could. And as long as we're committed to keep growing, to keep learning, to keep building, building is the word, to keep building these relationships with each other. And again, I started with family because family is the root, that is the foundation. And based on where we're coming from as Africans, I don't care what country, you know this to be true. We are so communal based on whatsoever country, right? It really, family is really important. And if we commit to building on it, to unlearning the things that don't work and relearning and keeping the things that work, it's going to be beautiful for us as a people. You feel lighter, you have confidence, you feel like, you feel rooted. And maybe this is not, and maybe this wouldn't happen for you. However, there's peace in the fact that, you know what, I tried, and you close that chapter in the sense where if there's no means to grow or to, then you move forward. Not close the chapter, you move forward. However, having that regret, having those unresolved feelings, having those feelings that we don't talk about, that that is a problem, because those are the things that linger. Those are the things that make our hearts heavy. And honestly, there's too much for us to do, too much life for us to live, for us to just go on um about life like it's so gloomy, like so weighed down. We don't need all that extra weight, all that extra baggage, when it could be resolved in communication, in the decision to be open and to trust and to be honest. I feel like we need to encourage each other to talk, and not just, you know, the up and up conversations that we go to a party, every auntie's asking you, when are you getting married? Uh, when are you having kids? Who's your boyfriend? Who's your girlfriend? We need just, yeah, those are good. We need to encourage each other to have deep, meaningful conversations. Those conversations, what I just talked about, those can be deep. We need to encourage each other to have, let's talk to each other, let's communicate with each other. And this is in the sense of family, mothers, fathers, talk to your children from an early age. African parents, please talk to us. Talk to us. Share your experiences with us. Let us know if there was a hurt that you felt or things like that. It helps us better understand you. African children, listen, empathize, understand that experiences were had before you came, and those experiences could be informing those actions. Let us give each other the benefit of the doubt. We need to believe that everybody is doing the best that they can. It might not be the best that you would do, but that's why it is so important for us to have this conversation so that we can learn from each other. It might not really be the best that you could do. You believe you could do better. However, that's the best that that person could do at that moment. And if we understand where each other is coming from, like I said, we're going to align better and feel rooted and just feel that sense of love, belonging. And that translates into everything else in our lives. I promise. When you feel safe, secure, that's why I'm starting with family. Because honestly, family sets the foundation. So I truly hope that this probes you to think about what family means to you, to think about how you want to improve upon that and the things that you could do to improve upon that. I think conversations that you have to have, I think um, reconciliations that have to take place. What is this? What is this triggering for you? And whatever comes to mind, that's the truth about you. And that will help you effectively step into the world as who you are supposed to be. And I am so grateful for you being here, honestly, for you listening to me. Did I introduce myself in the, well, I am Ashley Kusianga and I really love you for being here. Thank you so much. And I will see you in our next conversation 1 week from today. Thank you. Mwah.